Casey, you ready to go, baby?
Whoa,
I want to wake
hot mic.
Everybody wake up. If you are not awake already, it is time to get up. It is 9:30 a.m. East Coast. Casey, respect to you, good sir. It's 6:30 in the morning for you. But more important than all of that, it is fight day, ladies and gentlemen, and we are getting them early. Case, we were talking before we went live. I haven't been this excited about a fight. I honestly cannot remember the last time I was this excited. Like, it is, this doesn't happen all the time. And the fact that it's happening crack of dawn, basically, today is going to be a good day, my man.
Why are you so excited? Because we've had fights. We've had fight cards of good fights. What makes this card just so exciting for you?
So the main event is what's pushing me over the top, right? Everything else is great, and I think I would be I'd be tentatively excited because I'm going to start the day off in the worst possible way. The one downside to this being my job, and I love my job, and it's the greatest thing in the world, is that you can get a little burnt out because there are 46 weeks a year where you're doing this, and not everyone's a winner, and sometimes it rolls over you. But you get a card like this that's top to bottom elite. Like AK on the preview show yesterday, I think gave this a 10 out of 10, and it's hard to find fault with that. Also, I think the part you guys didn't talk about yesterday that is a little underrated, this card held together. Like, this was the card for a long time. Yeah. And so that, like, I think we underrate how much that matters to be like, this is a thing. Like, I wanted the top 4 fights on this for a while now. And the fact that nothing intervened, knock on wood, anything can happen. It's just like, we get the thing that we were told we were going to get that was awesome when it was conceived, is awesome today. And the main event, no disrespect to anything else, the main event is a fight that I have a lot on the line on, both financially and just spiritually. And so, like, it's a little bit of that, man. Like, I get to see how this one plays out because that has the most stakes by far for me of anything. Honestly, maybe the most stakes of the entire year when you're talking about where the legacies diverge depending on the outcome. So, like, I'm just pumped, man. I couldn't be more excited about this fight card.
It's awesome, man. That's all. Yeah, I mean, yeah, definitely the top 6 fights are just incredible. Just fights that make sense, and yeah, and all have very super significance. It's interesting that I didn't even really think about it, but a lot of kind of the chatter, if TJ Dillashaw wins, is he the greatest bantamweight ever?
Yeah.
And I mean, I think that's just like there's so many.
I mean, that is certainly a talking point.
There's so many freaking storylines. But to me, that's a really big talking point. I mean, we're talking about if Oliveira wins, is he the greatest lightweight ever? If TJ Dillashaw wins, is he the greatest bantamweight ever? That's a lot of weight on one card, and it held together. And yeah, let's get to the questions, man.
I mean, yeah. We don't have to sell this one.
Yeah, I know. Yeah,
this is not one of the preview shows where we have to sell stuff.
Hey guys,
before we get to the questions, I do just want to mention, because this card is so big, later on today, I think 1:45, is that right, Casey? I think that's the timeline. We're going to have the live watch along for the main card. That is why, obviously, normally the esteemed Mike Heck is in this chair. He is either on a plane or arriving in New York shortly to get up with this watch along thing. So make sure you tune in for that. Buy the pay-per-view, watch along with us. It's going to be a damn good time.
Yeah, I think him and Connor Burks from MMA Hour and some other special guests will be live in studio. So, yeah, they're going to have all the fancy cameras and all the gadgets and stuff, make it look cool.
I'm super jelly. Super jelly.
The questions. All right, I'm going to go back to the top. All right.
Let's go.
If you threw some questions in, people, throw them in again because I might have missed them.
And there are going to be a lot of questions, I can only imagine.
So much positivity right here. I think of that.
I mean, let's go.
Let's go.
Mr. 3024. Hashtag Mike Jackson's future opponent.
I don't know if you saw my Twitter. last night. The only time we talked
I
about the
did
card,
not
but
see it.
I did. I was supposed to be fighting this Sunday, but
Really?
yeah, I mean, I didn't talk about it publicly, but I had a
You didn't
fight.
talk about it privately.
Yeah,
That
yeah,
wasn't in our Slack either.
yeah. I didn't talk. Yeah, it was just between me and my coaches and my wife. But due to my age and the medical requirements in California, they made it financially prohibitive for me to really
Oh,
fight in California. They actually
wow.
changed the requirements from the last time I fought. So, but I went ahead and
Did they watch the last time you fought? Because I don't feel like they
I don't
they
know.
needed to.
Yeah,
But
I know,
okay.
and it's like I basically I have to do the same stuff that a pro would do, which is like 3 MRIs plus more, and it was just like
Jeez.
7 doctor visits and like
Three
I mean that.
MRIs feels like a lot of MRIs.
Yeah. I don't like it was my brain and my butt. I don't know. And I like I had to go to
My butt.
yeah, I don't know. It was a lot of stuff. I had to see like an
Gotta get
eye
my butt
doctor.
MRI.
Like yeah, but MRI. There was a lot of words on these forms they sent me. Like God, this sucks. So
It's okay. I'm pretty
yeah.
confident that Thailand doesn't make you
No,
do
no, yeah.
anything
So
before
we'll
the
talk a bit
fight.
over that later.
So
Yeah. So but last night I was supposed to fight at 160. So my last fight was actually middleweight, but I came in
Mhm.
at 172, and this fight is still an amateur fight. So you weigh in only you weigh in about 6 hours before the fight. I was gonna fight at 160, so I actually cut weight this week,
aggressive.
and I made weight at 160. So which
Hey,
means I feel like I had 155 in me too if I would
you
die.
got
If
one.
I,
Yeah.
yeah, it was 155's there, so that was exciting. So
Hey, look,
yeah,
ready to go.
I know. So
Mike
yeah.
Jackson, there's nothing standing in the way of this.
All right, here we go. Questions. Man, just a lot of excitement. Look at that. Yeah,
I mean, yeah, I'm awake. Yeah.
I'm awake.
See, yeah, man,
Oh,
everybody's just pumped about this. Like, it's
we got kids in Japan watching us. Look at this, man. Good
awake in
morning.
Japan. I have a lot of respect for you, good sir. I That's the thing too, because we were talking about it offhand. It doesn't feel like the UFC has done an enormous amount of promotion for this, right? Like,
No, yeah, it's just. I mean,
it,
they did a few. Oh, this is the only time we're gonna talk about it. They did some
yeah,
Hasbula videos with people that aren't even on the card, and yeah,
yeah. It doesn't feel like they gave this the full court press, but
I guess
everybody's just so pumped for it. Like, this is what the UFC can be. So for the people who get mad at me when I'm like, this fight card sucks, don't watch it. Pay it. Go to MMAfighting.com. Great website. This is why I want that, because this is what we should hope for every time out, or at least a semblance of this. And because like this is awesome. This is the best day of the month, and I think everyone agrees. So it's dope. Let's do this more.
and daytime fights. Yes.
Love daytime fights.
Yes.
Love daytime fights. Also, UGA isn't playing this weekend, so it's really great for me,
All
baby.
right. First question about the actual
First
card.
question, Casey. How do you? I guess I should read for anyone who listens.
Oh, yeah.
You guys got Belal or Sean? Casey, how do you feel on this one?
I gotta go Sean Brady. Just it's gonna be exciting because I think you and me you're pretty high on Sean Brady. I know you're not high on his name, but you're high on him
Very
as an
high. I'm very
athlete,
high on him as a fighter.
as a fighter. But how long has he been out for? Over a year? It's been,
It's been a stretch, but I don't know. Hold on, I'll look that up while you
yeah.
continue
So
to
that does worry me, but also it's 15. He has 15
almost a
pro.
year.
Yeah,
It
he's
was
had 15
November of
pro
last year.
15 pro fights. I don't think that's gonna be as big a deal as we think it is. Belal is staying busy. It's just we're gonna find out who Sean Brady is. We kind of know who Belal Muhammad is, and yeah, and if Belal Muhammad wins, we're gonna get a lot more Belal Muhammad in our lives, basically.
Yeah.
So I know mileage may vary as far as what people feel about him and his fighting style, or maybe his personality. But I don't hate it as much as I see some people do. I get it. He wins. He's a great athlete, a good mixed martial artist, a decent striker. Did you see that quote?
I did not.
Oh no, it was funny. Don't worry.
Okay.
Yeah, a journalist said no, and you're a decent striker, and Bilal was like, I'm more than decent, and the journalist goes,
Is he?
yeah, you're a decent striker. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the right response to
Yeah.
that.
He's he's a very good mixed martial arts striker. He uses
Very
his
good mixed martial artist.
he's very good mixed martial artist, and he knows how to win, and that's very important at this level. And it's going to be quite the test for Sean Brady, and that's a great way to kick off the card. Do you think this should have been on the main card, or is this a good fight? The last free fight. This is good because if it's Belal Muhammad's way, it might be a bad 15 minutes entertainment wise.
I think this is the only one you could have chosen because, like, you can't put Furo Chukagian in this spot because if that fight is going to be bad, it's going to be way worse than Belal being bad, right?
Fair enough.
So you can't do that. And I don't think, like, from an excitement level, I think Dariush Gamrot would make the most sense as the lead-in, but that fight deserves the main card. Like, you can't not have that on the main card. So I think there's an argument for Uzdemir Krylov in this position just because that fight is guaranteed to be a banger.
Yeah.
Whereas this fight could maybe be a little lacking in interest, but I think they did it right. The only card placement thing I have, like I would say on this card is I'd have Krylov Uzdemir over Muradov Baralho because that seems very obvious to me, but that's a really small nitpick as far as how card placement goes. I think everything else they did was pretty spot on.
Yeah. So I'm going Sean Brady mostly because of it's really just his potential, and I think I'm just excited to see a new, really high level grappler that finishes fights. So that's why I'm just excited to see Sean Brady in the cage again and healthy. What do you got?
Yeah, I'm going Sean Brady. I feel less confident in this pick than I did earlier in the week. Like, as the days have gone on, I have grown to think this is really close to 50-50. They're really very similar fighters. Like, they are both really good defensive wrestlers, pretty solid offensive wrestlers, and smothering grapplers. Like, when they get a position, that's it. They just have that position until the end of the round or a stoppage comes. I have a lot of questions about if either of them can really have success with their offensive wrestling because both are such good defensive wrestlers as well. And so maybe this ends up being just like a kickboxing fight. If this were 5 rounds, I think I might pick Belal because his cardio is through the roof, and Brady has tired a little bit. Certainly in that Chiesa fight, the 3rd round, he looked a lot worse for wear than he did in the first 2. So this were 5 rounds maybe, but I'm with you. I'm taking Brady on the potential younger. I think that this kid is going to challenge for a belt one day, and this probably, unfortunately for Belal, means he never will if he loses this one. But I could see this going anyway. The only thing I looked at and was like, oh, I can see an advantage here is Belal kicks a lot. That's a really good weapon for him, but Brady's really good at catching kicks and getting takedowns. He did it to Chiesa a bunch. And so, like, if Belal throws out a body kick and gets tackled to the ground, then he's just going to give up the position for the rest of the round because that's how good Brady is. But it's 50-50 fight, man. It could go either way.
Okay. Do you think it's going to be a back and forth competitive fight, or is it one of those fights where I don't know, like 1 round in, we're gonna go, okay, this guy is most likely gonna win, or do you think this?
I think it's gonna be back and forth because I don't think either man can effectively wrestle that consistently. I think they're both too good defensively, and I think on the feet, Bilal's a little bit better, but Brady's a little younger, a little more spry, and I think he will have more success in grappling exchanges when they do happen. So I think it's going to be back and forth. But like if either of them can take the other down, then this fight immediately becomes not interesting. Like as soon as a takedown is had by either side, it's just that's where the round is going to be for the rest of it.
Yeah, I want to see the improvements on Sean Brady too. Being out a year, I know part of that was from injury and everything, but being out for a year and I'm assuming at this point a full-time MMA fighter. He didn't have a day job or anything, so like a year to really dedicate to your craft at this level can do wonders for a fighter. We might see an entirely different Sean Brady tonight, and a more improved Sean Brady, like almost like when we saw Jake Matthews in his last fight. Like, holy crap, who's this guy? We knew who he was, but then all of a sudden he just became this much better version of him. So it's an awesome fight. Awesome fight.
Yeah, that certainly goes into it. Is the projection of what Brady can be also. tapped out Jake Matthews, and Jake Matthews looked damn good last time out. So
Yeah.
Sean Brady ain't no joke, boys and girls.
This is an interesting question. It's just it's kind of wide open. Let's go with it.
Ooh, what fighter has the most to lose today? I loved your answer yesterday, Casey.
Okay, because I looked at the YouTube
I'm
comments.
sure you got a lot of
some
hate
crap
for
it, and I was kind of annoyed because people are like, "Oh, you're disrespecting Charles Oliveira." It's like, no, I'm not. Listen to what I damn said, but I'm glad. I appreciate what you heard us what I said yesterday.
yeah, I love that, and I loved your entire side of that argument, right? Like I loved the Sean O'Malley aspect to it as well because
yeah,
it depends on how you view this, right? Like in a very direct sense, if Sean O'Malley loses today, nothing too bad happens. Like he's still a huge star in the sport. He lost to the number 2 guy in the world at worst. He can probably get his way back there, but he is functionally losing the opportunity of a lifetime, right? Like if I think he's going to be my choice because he said it, and I think it's absolutely true. If he goes out here and stunts on Petr Yan, like somehow does that, he is Conor McGregor. Like he is the next Conor, and that's by not doing that. That probably actually does remove that possibility from him forever. So you're talking about a guy being famous and successful versus one of the elite superstars that this sport has ever seen. That is a big gulf to lose. The opportunity cost there is enormous. So I think he's got a really good argument, but I do think Charles Oliveira is the right answer here because I agree with everything you said yesterday. I also think that people aren't giving enough credit to what this looks like 6 months from now if Oliveira loses to Makhachev. I think the conversation around him turns entirely. Like instead of because right now, if he retired right now, he's in the greatest lightweight of all time conversation. Rightly or wrongly, I'm not sure I agree with that if we're being totally honest, but he is in that because of what he's accomplished because of this dynamite run. He goes out here and loses to Makhachev. And because the way he's going to lose is probably going to be badly, right? Like Charles Oliveira has never not lost badly. 7 of his 8 career losses were finishes. Like it's just how he loses.
Yeah.
He goes out here and does this. He's immediately removed from that conversation. I don't care what Sean, et cetera, said yesterday. Like they're wrong. He is no longer in the greatest GOAT lightweight conversation. Lightweight's too deep. There are too many people. And you aren't going to be that way. Like we don't talk about Tony Ferguson in the greatest lightweight of all time because Khabib ultimately won that battle over time, right? But Tony's run every bit as good as Oliveira's. Like that run, that 12 whatever unbeaten streak he had, unbelievable. Took an L, took a couple more L's, and then he's out. And like that's sort of just how it is. GOAT conversations tend to be structured around eras. And if Chucky Olives loses tomorrow, he ain't the GOAT. Like there's Khabib and Islam are both over him in the same era. So he is really out of it. I think that's an enormous, yes, he's probably still a Hall of Famer. Not probably, he is. He's a champion, got a lot of records. He will make his way into the Hall of Fame, but he won't be like a first ballot. And I think that's a huge loss, right? Like a win tomorrow does probably cement him in the conversation. It's him and Khabib, and you'll get some old weirdos like me who still want to argue for BJ, even though he's just categorically not the right answer. Like he gets there. So I think it is Charles Oliveira. I think he has the most to lose today.
Yeah, I agree. The fact that he's a significant underdog in this fight, the guy that we consider that people are calling the GOAT. The GOAT doesn't come into a fight as an underdog. That's why there's so much.
I loved that point from you yesterday as well, because like sometimes I feel like I'm taking crazy pills about the whole, and I don't know, I can't tell if it's just me being like a Khabib stan or whatever. I'm just like Charles Oliveira isn't really close to the GOAT in my opinion. Like his run is maybe the best we've ever seen, and that I'll happily agree. Like this run has been unbelievable, but there's a difference between having a hot streak and being one of the greatest fighters of all time. And when you lose 8 times and 7 of them you get finished and you look super vulnerable in all your best wins too, like it's really hard for me to be. Whereas like Khabib, Charles Oliveira, whatever he is not dominant. He's awesome, but he ain't dominant. And that's what Khabib was. And so I loved your point yesterday in that regards. It was like, I don't know, man. I don't think he's there.
Yeah. And I have no issue calling him the most exciting UFC champion ever, or whatever you want to, or like.
I mean, he's
champion ever. But I mean, actually, Gaethje was never champ. But
yeah, who is an interim champion? So I answered this question in my hot tweets column last weekend. Like somebody asked that, like, is he the most exciting lightweight champion? And I think the answer is yes. If you're only looking at fights they had while being champion, if you're just looking at exciting guy who held the lightweight belt, there's an argument he's not even in the top 5, which is insane. But that just speaks to what lightweight is. Like Gaethje and Conor are above Oliveira in most exciting fighters. Like I think they're 1 and 2 in the history of excitement in the sport, and they were both lightweight champions. And then Dustin Poirier, Benson Henderson, like Charles Oliveira. There is Frankie Edgar. Like there's a number of lightweight champions who are dope as hell. Eddie Alvarez, dude. Eddie Alvarez's career is one of the most exciting careers of all time. So, like, if you're just looking at dudes who own the belt, there's an argument he's not in the top 5. I'm not sure I believe that argument, but it's a real one. Lightweight rules is the answer here. This division kicks ass.
Excuse me. How awesome is we have that card? Like, we've had this kind of fun argument. Lightweights are better, bantamweights are better, and now we got both on the same card. How great is that?
We had two belts and 2 unbelievable other fights in the division. Yeah, I think that's why this card kicks so much ass. It's like, what if instead of doing the other weight classes, we just picked the best 2 and loaded it up? Hell yeah. It's awesome.
Yeah, but we go back to that Sean O'Malley thing about most to lose. Man, I can't. Maybe I'm just forgetting something, but like, has anyone had such a lottery ticket to a title shot like Sean O'Malley has right now? I mean, you gotta go through Peter Yan. That's incredibly tough, but he's freaking unranked. He's an unranked
Joe
fighter.
Soto.
That was late notice. That was.
I know, but that's it. Like he was an unranked dude who actually got a title fight. So that's the only That's the only person I can think of who's like this. Because Joe Soto, his first fight in the UFC was for belt. Like that's about as big of a lottery ticket as you could hope to cash. But I'm with you. He will not have had to beat anybody good other than Petr Yan. And I would agree with it. If he beats Petr Yan, give the dude a title shot. He deserves it.
Yeah.
Petr Yan is the 1B of this weight class right now.
Yeah.
I'm not sure he's going to, but it would be incredible if he did, man.
And I didn't even really think about it, like, because like, in my mind, I still can't see Sean O'Malley actually winning this fight. But if he did win this fight, and say he Eddie Winelands Petr Yan, you're right. Like, we might have.
If he Eddie Winelands Petr Yan, he's Conor.
Yeah.
He's just it.
When you said that, I was like, what? But then I kind of saw the vision in my head. I was like, oh yeah, I can see that.
Dude, he's
a modern American Conor. And different enough where no one's gonna make the.
He's his own man.
He's his own man. Yeah. So, but as far as that star power and just the fandom behind it and just the ridiculousness of him in general, yeah.
He becomes the second biggest star in the sport overnight if he comes out here and just ghosts like Petr Yan.
And to put Sean O'Malley on this card with that title fight, the very next fight, oh my God, that's just the UFC. Like
they did. I knock them a lot because a lot of times they deserve to be knocked. This one ain't. This one's top to bottom perfect, just about as perfect as you can get.
Do you think was this a crazy fight for Peter to take?
No. I think this is actually.
I don't think so either, but I
think this is the fight that makes the most sense for him to take. Because he has to fight backwards, and so there's no benefit. Anyone he fights, there's no benefit other than it just keeps him around. He's defending a position. At least in O'Malley, he is fighting a guy who is famous. Like he's one of the bigger stars in the weight class in the sport. Beating him at least actually provides him a benefit, whereas him beating Marlon Vera is awesome for you and me and the people tuning into this right now. But the casual fan doesn't give a crap about him fighting Marlon Vera and beating him or whatever. This is the thing that will get him the most over. think this is the fight that has the most to gain for him outside of a title fight, and he obviously can't get that at the moment. So, yeah,
it's incredible what name power does over rankings. How prize fighting works. I'm always kind of I'm always still always a bit in shock at that. I was like we don't want to see the best fight the best. We want to see that guy fight sport. That guy. Yeah.
It's not a sport. This is a fist fight organization. You want to see people fight who you have a vested interest in. There's I don't know, if Petr Yan had to fight Merab Dvalishvili, dude, no one cares. Nobody alive cares about that fight.
And that's probably in Jan's mind, that's that fight's 10 times
it's probably way more difficult in his mind. There's absolutely no upside to it. It's just the worst possible fight for him. This fight is probably easier than most you get and provides a benefit that I don't think anyone else does. I think this is actually elite matchmaking, especially because I never even thought about it too. Normally when a good fight's announced, you're like, that makes sense, or yeah, I thought that's a thing that could happen. When they announced this, was dude, I didn't see that coming at all. And then it's actually, that's perfect. It's genius. So again,
it's perfect because it's on this card too.
Yep.
It's
if you do this as a fight night main event a week later, it doesn't have the same.
No, you're right. Even if it could have been a fight night in Columbus, Ohio, sold out, whatever. Yeah.
Not the same cachet.
Arena. No, it needs to be this.
Yeah. This is perfect work. So.
And 3 rounds, it's gonna be that's such to me.
It gives O'Malley a better chance.
That's a bit.
It gives him a better chance. The closer. I'm the opposite of this as I was with the Belal Sean fight. The closer this fight gets, the more I think Petr Yan's just gonna beat the hell out of him. Because when it first announced, it was 3 rounds. Sean maybe could steal something here, and then it's more probably not. He's probably just not going to do very well here.
I mean,
maybe.
Or maybe, yeah.
but maybe. The future, she is a mystery.
And why I like this fight too is we're going to see something. I can't say this a lot, but we're going to see something that we've never seen before. If Yan wins, we're going to see someone kick O'Malley's ass we've never seen his ass kicked before. Mm-hmm. And if O'Malley wins, we're going to see Petr Yan he's going to get knocked out if he loses,
Yeah.
And we've never seen anything really close to that. So that's why something's going to happen, and it's going to be awesome. That's all.
If O'Malley knocks him out, it's going to just blow my mind.
That's what I said.
I'm not prepared for that.
If he Eddie Winelands him, with just that one, just that 1-2, boom, boom.
All right. That would be nuts.
Man, I'm excited. I'm just... Yeah, I feel like I can still talk about that fight for another 30 minutes.
We talk about every fight on this card for an hour. This card is awesome. So many of the fights are really well made.
It's at the prelims.
Ooh, best prelim that doesn't have ranked fighters. Let me pull this up and take a look here.
God, let me mute this cam.
This is best prelim that doesn't have ranked fighters is tough because I think the one if I could only pick one of them to watch, it would be Muhammad Makhachev versus Malcolm Gordon, because I don't think Makhachev's ranked in the UFC rankings. I could be wrong on that. Just because I know how that fight is going to go, but I think I've talked about it a lot on various shows on MMA Fighting Network. Great network, great website.
Great website.
I think Makhachev is the future. This dude is going to be the flyweight champion of the world, and maybe in the future will be the bantamweight champion as well. This kid is nothing but upside. So I think if I could only pick one, I just want to see him compete because I think he's that special. But if you're just going on what's the most interesting fight on its just of what's going to happen and be the most fun, probably Armin Petrosian, AJ Dobson, because AJ Dobson does not get paid by the minute. That man comes out to chuck him and settle up. And Armin Petrosian can kickbox as well. So I think that fight is just going to be a war for 5 minutes or less probably. So if you're just looking bang for your buck, I think it's that one. But if you're looking for, something else, it's I will always watch Muhammad Makhachev fight because I want to see where this kid goes.
I'll definitely go Makhachev. I think the Petrosian-Dobson fight is going to be awesome. But the Makhachev fight is the one that, as far as the prelims,
it's going to matter the most.
Outside of the main event, it's the one you're going to be thinking about. Oh, that's the fight. What did you think about his last performance? I know a lot of people are dogging on it. I thought that was
It's really good.
Yeah, I thought it was really good. I get it wasn't exciting, but I mean, for people like us that we watch a lot of fights, we're like, we saw a lot of things in there that were super positive. That like for
Yeah.
long term championship type of run, it's like okay, that's what you need. You need it.
Yep.
He needed a fight like that against a really, actually a really good opponent. I
Really
felt like
game. Yeah. That's kind of what I thought his UFC debut would look like, just because the jump up from where he had been before. You want that sort of seasoning, right? You want somebody who doesn't just fall over at the first sign of trouble. You get to see him work through things. At no point in that fight was he ever really in danger. He controlled it pillar to post, but he had to work. Like it wasn't a layup, it wasn't a
mm,
gimme. That's a developmental fight you want to see. Saw a lot of really good control aspects there that make me feel even more confident in him. And it's also just part of the downside to being Muhammad Makhachev or John Jones or Hamzat Chimaev, like those guys, is the expectation so outstrips the reality of fist fighting
mm-hmm.
almost immediately. Like it is incredibly difficult to fist fight a person.
Yep.
It is even more difficult to fist fight another professional fist fighter. And like when you are dominant or you have the hallmarks of somebody who's going to be great, the expectations are just from the gate, they're outrageous. Like, yeah, you should just kill this guy. It was really, really difficult to do that to anybody, man. Like, we see it all the time with long reigning champions too. Valentina Shevchenko, like, well, if she doesn't absolutely blow the doors off somebody, it's a bad performance. Or Israel Adesanya, if he doesn't come out and knock out everybody he fights, well, he's boring and trash. It's like, no, fist fighting is very hard, and we're seeing the good things. So I will never argue that it's the most entertaining fight of all time, because that would be a lie. But I thought it was a good fight for him developmentally. I think this fight, he has a lot better chance to entertain the masses here against Gordon.
Yeah, as far as like his potential, I when I see a dominant decision like that, I actually think
More
much more
impressive than
highly
an
of him.
early knockout.
Yeah,
Yeah.
early knockouts can be very deceiving. Just look at Dana White's Contender Series. Early knockout, you're automatically signed. That doesn't mean too much. That just means you got an early knockout. Yeah, the
Yeah.
15 minutes of good domination like that says a lot.
It's way harder to dominate somebody for 15 minutes than to finish them within two,
Yeah, and
you
like
know?
and so just one thing about just training and stuff. Since I started training at a new camp, new gym, and I go to the team training, and there are lots of pro. I mean, most of it's pro fighters, most of it's amateur fighters who intend on going pro,
Dude,
not like just guys like me. And like
those are the
guys who,
worst.
yeah, oh my, yeah, oh the
If
amateur
you're not like
fighter.
a real fighter and you just get in there with like some Ami guys go and you just get your ass kicked, like, God, there's so many levels to this game.
When DC always said there's levels to this game, oh my god, I understand that so much more because guys who the fans make it consider just I don't know jobbers or
Oh,
whatever,
yeah,
just mid
Journeyman?
card journeymen. Those
Journeyman
guys,
beat the shit out of everybody watching this right now. They're
like not
so
even
much better at
trying,
fist
not
fight.
even
Yeah.
trying. Like just yesterday we were sparring, we were doing Muay Thai sparring, and this guy I have competitive rounds with all the time. One of the pros came in, he's like 3-0 or whatever, and we're all wearing headgear. He just comes in, almost stretches for like 5 minutes, no headgear, and just tools this guy like that my friend who I spar with all the time, and like just drops him in like 3 times in a round. Like basically he was just having fun, and I felt like he could order a pizza on his phone and still like that's how good he was. I was like oh my
Dude,
god. It's just
it,
the levels to this, and so when I see Makhachev like do when they dominate guys like whoever like I have such a better appreciation for how tough that is,
yeah,
and
man.
yeah it's a you train with high level guys too or
Yep.
just different level guys, and it's such a humbling and unique
It's,
experience.
if you watch this and you've never trained, you have any inclination or interest in it, highly recommend you doing it, because it it will humble you so very, very quickly.
Yeah,
It will teach you a lot. It's fun as hell, but like
yeah,
it is, especially the ones that always got me were the guys who I trained with who like had fought before, or who were, like in their late 40s, 50s, aren't fighters, but were BJJ black belts or brown belts, and just be like, yeah, man, I don't know. Especially when I was younger, I was, in college and stuff. I'm a fit 24-year-old or whatever. And then some fat middle-aged dude who just wraps me up like a pretzel. I'm like, this sucks. This is bullshit. How is this happening right now? It's a very humbling experience. And
Yeah.
it does give you a lot of understanding when you watch a guy like Makhachev just absolutely ragdoll another grown fist fighter.
Yeah. Yeah. And wait, how old is he? 22, 21? Something
I think he's
like
22.
22. Freaking crazy. All right.
It really is freaking crazy. 22 years old and he's been fighting for like 5 years. It's unbelievable, man.
All right.
Michael Bisping said recently on his YouTube channel that if Charles Oliveira beats Islam Makhachev, he overtakes Khabib Nurmagomedov's lightweight GOAT status. Do you guys agree? Casey, let's start with you on this.
No.
I agree with you, Casey. It is,
No.
For me, it's going to take something really special to beat Khabib's lightweight GOAT status, because as much as people will think this is really stupid, he never lost, and that counts for a lot. Like that, it really, really does. I'm not saying that's the end all be all and that nobody can overtake it, but if you're going to, it needs to be. You can't have a huge, huge glaring flaw in your resume, and Charles Oliveira is not a dominant fighter is a very, very glaring flaw. He can get there, but I'm going to need to see years of dominance, because I think that's the other thing that
It's dominance. That's the word. That's just the word.
well,
That's the word.
yeah.
Dominance.
Outside of the dominance, so the other thing that like gets me, I don't think anybody ever factors this in enough. Time at the top matters a lot to me, and not just number of title defenses, because the reality is, like, if you look at the history of the sport, there are a number of fighters who have good years or 2 good years, and that's still incredibly impressive. I'm not here to downplay like putting together 7 wins over the course of 2 years that are awesome. Like, that's dope. It's way, way more difficult to reign for 6, 5, 6, 7 years. Like, Jose Aldo basically defended his title once a year, and so he only ends up having like 9 or 10 title defenses. Only, quote unquote, only that. But like Demetrius Johnson was a champ for a shorter period of time, but ended up with his 12 or however many it is, because he fought more frequently, and that's impressive in its own right and awesome. But it is a very real thing that fighters develop styles to beat you, and so Charles Oliveira being champion for 2 years and having this great run is incredible. It is less impressive to me, or not. It won't be as impressive until he does it for 4 years. And you've got guys who have spent literal years gunning after him at the top. And Khabib was the best lightweight in the world for like 6 years. Like, he didn't have the belt for a long time because of the machinations of the sport and Conor McGregor existing. But since he beat Rafael dos Anjos, he was the best lightweight in the world, like, functionally, especially because 2 fights later or whatever, RDA won the belt. Like, Khabib was the dude. It took him 3 more years to get the title. But everybody knew at the time, everybody knew this guy was the guy. And Charles has only been the guy for, I mean, I was going to say no disrespect to Michael Chandler, but that's not my brand. Charles has only been the lightweight champion since he beat Dustin Poirier, because that was the actual lightweight belt, regardless of what the UFC wants to sell you. Him beating Michael Chandler on its face was never for the title, because it was the number 3 guy versus number 4 guy in their rankings. When 3 and 4 fight, that doesn't add to 1. That's not how math works. When he beats Poirier, absolutely becomes the champion, beats Gaethje, half pound, whatever. He's still the best guy fighting in this weight class in the world at the time. If he beats Islam, that's 2 actual title defenses. He starts building a resume, but I need more from him.
Yeah, basically. Yeah, you have to. It's going to take a few more wins to leapfrog Khabib's dominance. Like,
yeah, really.
What did Khabib end up with? It was 29 and what? What was this?
29-0, baby.
29-0, and he never. Was he? I think was he dropped once in his career?
No, he never got dropped.
He never got dropped. He might have lost.
He got buzzed.
Rounds.
He
Got
got
buzzed a
buzzed
couple
by
of times.
Michael Johnson in a round he still won. I think officially he lost 2 rounds in his career. One being the third round to Connor after he put a 10-8 on Connor in round 2.
Oh,
And then
that was the all stand up round. Khabib did
yeah,
all
that
stand up, just like I'm having
yeah, and
fun.
he didn't lose badly in that
No.
round either. Like he got outpointed, but it wasn't like, oh, he's screwed. And then he promptly finished the fight the next
Yeah.
round. And I think on the judges' scorecards, he lost round 1 to Gaethje, which I don't agree with at all. Like
Wow.
I think he won the
that's just a
first
weird
round.
score then. Yeah, that's just a weird score. Yeah.
Well, it's because he spent a lot of that round on the feet, and Gaethje hit him several times,
Oh,
but
okay.
he also almost tapped him. I got the bell of round 1, so like I think he should have won that. But I think 2 or 3 of the judges gave Gaethje the first round, but that's it. He never got penalized. Because I remember watching his career. I think he only ever got warned for like grabbing the shorts like one time in his fight against Gleason Tebow. Like he never got called for penalties, never had a fight broken up from it, never got dropped. The worst thing you can say about him is that he may or may not have not deserved to beat Gleason Tebow. That has become this thing where he like definitively lost. It is not definitive. If you go back and watch it, have no issue if you give it for Tebow. Think there's totally an argument Habib won. And if that's the worst you can say about a man's career, that's pretty tough to find fault with him.
Let's tell people about a watch along real quick again.
Where is the bald guy? I assume you're talking about the esteemed Mike Heck. He is in New York City. I don't know if you've ever heard of it, but he is in Great New York with my dear friend Connor Burks. We are hosting a watch along, a UFC 280 watch along in the Vox Studios in New York City. I think Casey does that start at 1:45. Do I have the time right?
I don't know. Yeah, let's go 145.
I think it starts at 1:45 because I think that's around the time we should be looking at getting close to the main card kicking off. We should confirm that just to be sure, but it's going to be great. They're in studio. They're going to have several live guests come in, watch fights, hang out. It's going to be on this YouTube page. So order the pay-per-view and then pull us up and watch along with us. I say us. I'm not part of this, but they're going to have a great time. So you should definitely do that.
We need to talk about this fight now.
Oh, man. That fight is awesome. You know what? I'll lead. Can we please talk about the Beneil versus Gamrot? How do you see that fight going? This fight is awesome, and I have no idea. I think this fight is like the definition of a coin flip for me because Beneil is shockingly not old, right? Like he seems old, mainly because I think he's had the salt and pepper since he was like 25 or whatever. And he's been around the UFC for a long time. His game is kind of old man savvy in a lot of ways too. And so I thought he was like pushing 40. He's like 32. He is not old at all. So he is still like in his athletic prime. And he presents a lot of really tough challenges for Gamrot and Gamrot vice versa. Like if this gets to grappling, if these two dudes grapple, this is gonna rule because Gamrot is an ADCC European champion and like just a really accomplished guy. Beneil Dariush is unbelievable grappler. I remember, I think it was Jordan Breen, formerly of ShareDog.com, at one point. I was either talking to him or I heard something. I was listening to him on radio saying like he went to King's one time and saw Benny Dariush giving Fabricio Verdum pointers on a grappling exchange, and that really tells you all you need to know about who Beneil Dariush is as a grappler. If he is teaching world champion Fabricio Verdum something about grappling, the man knows his stuff. So if we get grappling out of this fight, it's going to be awesome. If this fight just becomes a kickboxing bout, which I can't imagine it is, that's not who Gamrot is as a person. It's less fun, but it's still compelling. Like I don't know where either man has advantages. Like I think Dariush is a little bit better on the feet. I think Gamrot has a little bit better cardio. I just really have no idea how this is going to go. How about you, Casey?
I pretty much everything you said. If it stays on the feet, I would tend to go Dariush only because At least I didn't see too much of Gamrot's KSW run, so I'm not too familiar with his work over there overseas. I just know he came over with a lot of potential, a lot of hype. So I'm assuming Dariush has the heavier hands. He chucks him a little harder.
He definitely has heavier hands.
Yeah,
I think that's for sure.
Okay, so I would, but yeah, like this is what I hope we see 15 minutes of high level grappling. That's all really. Gamrot and Tsarukyan was
awesome.
So good. I get it's not the fight of the year because you got the craziness of
it's going to be on my list, and I'm not sure if everyone will have it, but it's going to be in my top five for sure.
It's my second best fight of the year, only because of the stakes, only because
there was something else. There was another fight.
To share.
No, well, that's one.
Yeah, that's
to
one.
share Yuri is one.
That's just.
I actually think that might be the best fight of all time. The more I've rewatched it, the more I kind of think it's the best fight I've ever seen.
I don't want to talk about that fight too much because once I start going on that talk about that fight, I won't stop because I loved it. But I love Gamrot Tsarukyan. I thought Tsarukyan won. That's the only reason I kind of like don't like this fight because I was like, it should be Tsarukyan. But Gamrot was like, in my mind, barely lost. So I get it. I think
that fight's a draw. Neither man won or lost that fight. Yeah, that was just that was two dudes who couldn't gain any noticeable advantage over the other.
That fight was so good.
And that's the thing. I think this fight can be a lot. I think this can be very similar to that because it's like Gamrot is such a good pace wrestler. Like he puts it on you, and Tsarukyan is unbelievable. That Tsarukyan is going to challenge for a belt, if not straight up win one. I'd honestly be pretty surprised if he didn't hold UFC gold one day because he's still so young. And like if he had success, if you were a guy who thought Gamrot won, the way he had success was just by putting an ungodly pace on Tsarukyan and winning scrambles. And Tsarukyan ain't no joke to scramble against, baby. And so like Dariush can get a little tired. He can fade. I think the third round is going to favor Gamrot, but I don't know by how much. And like if he does come out to put that pace wrestling, like he and Dariush could get into some wild exchanges on the ground. Like this fight is going to rule. For a very specific subset of fans, this might be the most fun fight on the card. But I mean, it's still just going to be awesome. I don't think there's a way this fight is boring,
unless you just hate grappling. You're one of unless you're that guy. But if you like mixed martial arts, you will love this fight. And great card placement. I'm happy it's on this fight card. It rules. And what is Dariush?
Let me ask you a question here, because I thought of this yesterday when I was listening to the preview show with you guys, and I don't recall you talking about it. Dariush is not getting a title fight off this. I remember you guys saying that.
Yeah.
Is there a way he does? Like if he comes out here and wins, and let's say he gets a finish, let's say he catches Gamrot and thing, is there something he can say post-fight that can at least put him in the conversation? I'm not saying he's going to leapfrog everybody because I do think Conor is a very real presence in this argument. So he'll never get in front of Conor. But if Makhachev wins, the only other guy in line it's Conor, and then it's the winner of Poirier-Chandler, right? But Dariush on a current win streak, if he says something awesome, if he has a Khabib like "let me fight with your chicken" thing, is there a way he can put himself in the real conversation to have a title fight after this?
It would take some outside forces like Conor just never leaving his yacht. I
don't know that Conor can make lightweight anymore. That man looks quite large.
He's turning into the Liver King.
He really is. He is just Liver King now.
Yeah, Liver King is actually Conor. He takes his mask off like Scooby Doo's does. Like, he's been here the whole time.
Meddling kids.
No. Actually, Dariush has a chance, especially if does Gaethje have a fight right now? He's not even booked, right?
I don't think he does.
Yeah,
he was coming off. Didn't he have nose surgery? I think he's coming off nose surgery.
Okay. So Gaethje doesn't have a fight booked. Say Gaethje's just just not available for another 6 months. Chandler and Poirier just beat the crap out of each other, so neither of them are even available for 6 months. And
the winner of that's going to get a title fight.
They're going to probably wait. But if Makhachev steamroll, actually if either one of Oliveira or Makhachev steamrolls the other person, and they want to fight again in the next 3 months, And if Dariush is available, it could. That's the only way. It has to be. I mean, like 3 or 4 things has to happen.
Some
But
dominoes have to fall.
even then, I don't know if the UFC will risk having Dariush as their champion though. That's the issue. And even though he doesn't fight boring.
He doesn't fight boring at all. If he could come out and say something, that would help a lot. He really needs to have he needs to win first and foremost. He needs to have a mic moment. I am not looking at the YouTube comments, but I am assuming that a lot of people are just shouting at us about Alexander Volkanovski right now.
Oh.
And I'm going to pay that no mind because I don't want to speak that into existence because it's very, very stupid, and I have no interest in him fighting at lightweight unless he is going to abandon his featherweight title. Because you can't defend 2 belts. It doesn't work. Nobody's ever done it other than Amanda Nunes, and her second belt is in a weight class that isn't real. Yeah, it's in a fake weight class.
It's barely a real division too in women's too.
Yeah, she really defended 1 belt. They just opened the opportunity for a couple of other women to also challenge for it under special circumstances. Like DC didn't really pull it off. Nobody has because it can't be done. If Volk wants to move up to lightweight, I'm stoked. Love to see it. I don't want to see him not fight any of the guys at featherweight because he beat Max 3 times. Beat some other dudes, and then we can talk. So that's why I'm ignoring him, listeners who are probably very mad right now. Plus, they're not going to do that. They're going to Perth. Nobody.
Right as you say that, this here.
Yeah, I knew that was going to be a thing. That is what I am, a true casual. Yeah, Volkanovski is maybe the best fighter in the world. He has a belt and should defend it. Also, they're going to Perth, and Charles Oliveira is not going to Perth if he wins. And I don't think Islam's going to Perth either. Like, that would be stupid. Dana said it? Well, that's it, man.
Dana said it.
If you aren't like deep into the MMA game, Dana White says a lot of things, and half of them are true. And half might be an exaggeration.
All right.
Also, Dana did not say that, by the way. Dana said it makes sense, which means a far cry from him saying this is going to happen.
That is Dana promoter talk right there. It makes sense.
I will be shocked if Alexander Volkanovski gets the next lightweight title fight because of how things are shaping up. If Oliveira wins, he's going to try and fight in Brazil. He is for sure not going to go put his belt on the line in Volk's backyard in Australia. And I don't think Islam will do it either. He is more likely, but I don't know why he would want to do that. It's his belt. Volk wants his thing. Come to his house. Abu Dhabi.
Yep. I like this question, and this is a giant if in this question.
I'm pretty surprised. If he can, he's screwed is the actual answer here. He might not be screwed is the other thing.
I don't know. I don't know, honestly.
I think we are wildly underestimating Islam's ability on the feet. Not that he is like really good. He knows exactly what he is as a striker. And there's a reason he is like by far the least hit individual of all time in the UFC statistically. Some of it is he scores takedowns and you can't hit significant strikes off your back by the way they do that criteria functionally. The other part is he is very defensively responsible on the feet. He is never in range to engage with unless he is ready and prepared to do so. He will be outside of Charles Oliveira's striking distance until the time he wants to be all the way inside and in the clinch. The clinch is going to be a really fascinating like venue for this fight to take place in. Luke Thomas talked a lot about that in his live show. Shout out Luke. That's a lot of things can happen there. I would be really surprised if Islam can't get a takedown, but if he can't, I think the fight swings massively towards Charles. He is a more dynamic striker. I also still think very real possible. Charles is really bad defensively. Like he is very defensively poor at striking, and it's worked out for him because when he gets hit, he drops down. People don't want to engage in his guard. So I think there is a world where if Islam couldn't get a takedown, maybe he just punches Charles in the face, Charles drops down, and then Islam gets the position he wants. But I would say in broad strokes, if Islam can't get a takedown, he's screwed.
For Charles, I think when you fight guys Islam, you're going to assume you're going to get taken down. Does he almost welcome the takedown just to make sure when I do get taken down, you at least fall into my guard? You know, not
I
like
think so.
that's why I think that's why I just think this is going to be just this question is irrelevant because it's just not a reality in this fight. It's just Charles will get the takedown. I mean, I'm sorry, Islam will get the takedown. Now it's going to be how will Charles handle that and to make sure Islam at least comes into his guard, doesn't fall into side control from the takedown, which I think is the takedowns are takedowns, but where you fall in the takedown is just as important.
Yeah, where your position ends up. I'm with you on that. The things I'm the most interested in this fight, and I've been pretty clear, like I think Charles is going to lose convincingly, but the places that I think are interesting, I am interested to see how Charles's De La Riva works. He really goes for leg entanglements from the bottom position, not really to submit, but create sweeps and chaos. I want to see how that plays out against Islam. Haven't seen a lot of that. He's a Sambo guy, and they're all about the leg lock game. So like, I want to see how that dynamic plays out if it ends up playing out. And the other one,
but does that De La Riva game, does it really only work with an opponent that doesn't want to go down there with Charles?
Maybe.
That's why I think it's maybe more effective against.
I think it's much more effective against someone who doesn't want to do that for sure.
Yeah,
but like I mean, it's because he has so much motion off of it that I think if Charles is willing to engage, it will almost guarantee a scramble position if Charles isn't just smothering it, and then Islam isn't just smothering it out, which. He can have success in the scrambles. The thing I'm the most interested, though, the thing I think I wrote about this for the site, I think Charles's best path to victory, actually, I think he should go for a takedown and see what happens off of it, because maybe he can or can't get it. Islam, we've only seen him get taken down like twice, I think, in the UFC. It hasn't been a lot. And in both instances, he immediately popped back up. But he popped up in the way that like a lot of dudes do now, where he basically bases to fours and then gets up. So he's functionally giving up his back. And I forget who did. He did it to somebody, and they took his back, but he immediately just shimmied them over the top because they got too high, and he popped out. That's an incredibly dangerous game to play against Charles Oliveira. So if Oliveira gets the takedown,
probably Thiago Moises. I bet it was Moises.
It probably was Moises. Because I think the other guy who took him down was Sarukian, and I doubt Sarukian hopped back on him. But I just can't remember. But it's like that's a really, really dangerous thing to do. So if Charles, big physical guy, pretty decent offensive wrestler in his own right, if he can in that clinch maybe go for some sort of a toss, a trip, or whatever. And Islam's natural inclination or reaction to that is base fours and get up because he doesn't want to be playing that game from the bottom. There's a window there. If Charles gets on your back, that's a real dangerous position. So there are parts to this fight that are really interesting depending on how it looks. I think this fight will be one-way traffic, though. Like I think we will know very early who is going to win this fight. I think it's one of those, you know.
Almost like Islam. It's in the sense did Khabib never had back and forth fights, really, like back and forth war. Like he didn't have a war. He never had a war.
The most back and forth fight he had was beating Conor's ass for 2 rounds, standing up with him in the 3rd round, and then beating his ass again in the 4th. That's the most back and he had moments
Khabib
that
just
were back
I'm
and
stand
forth.
With Conor for shits and giggles, basically. And
while Javier Mendez is screaming at him. This is not the plan. He had moments of engagement. You know, Gaethje, that first round with Gaethje, they were back and forth pieces. Michael Johnson buzzed him. Dustin Poirier maybe buzzed him. I'm still not sure how hard he was.
Yeah.
Poirier jumped the guillotine, he had moments, but no, there were moments. It was not a one guy takes possession of of control, pass it back and forth.
And Islam's pretty much been that same way. It's all been one-way traffic in this fight.
Honestly,
outside of his one loss.
Yeah, Sarukian was at least a competitive fight, but I kind of think when we watched that for this fight, he mostly won every bit of it, and especially as the fight went on. I don't remember if you guys were talking about it or if it was on BTL, if it was a preview show. Somebody was saying something about wanting to see how Islam handles the pressure because it's a big moment, etc. I have zero questions about how. I don't think this man is shook by the like. You go back and watch that Sarukian fight, and arguably Sarukian is like making this a scrap and tough. At no point in time does he look anything other than that he is very confident he is beating this man. I think he's just built for this, and so I'm really, really interested to see. I don't think that will be a problem, but if it is, it will be a huge one, I guess. So it's again, it all comes back to I think this fight makes sense to me very clearly, and I think we're going to know exactly the parameters and who wins very early. But there are questions about which way things tilt, and which we won't know until we actually see them fight.
What was the moment in Islam's career that you just went, holy shit, this guy is next level over all these next level guys? I would actually say it was for me the Davi Ramos fight. Because I thought Ramos was super good at the time. And Ramos is actually probably a more decorated, just pure jiu-jitsu guy than Oliveira. Because Oliveira doesn't really compete in it because he's doing MMA, but so we don't really know how good Oliveira is on that platform. But like Ramos is still I think he's just in the jiu-jitsu world now. He's like just a top guy right there. But the Zaruki and Ramos back-to-back victories, even though there were 2 decisions, I remember watching those 2 fights. I go, good lord, he's good.
I think that stretch, and then I'd even add the Dober fight, even though that came considerably later. I think Dober is when I was 100% certain that he was a champion. Like, because prior to that, I was like, this guy's really good. I think the first time I stood and really took notice of him was the T-Val KO, because like, oh, he's Khabib with hands. That's a problem. Yeah. that's a very big problem for people.
What was that? Okay, I remember that fight. That was in Boston, and I remember, I was right. Me and Arrow were watching that fight backstage, and I remember he knocked out T-Val, and I looked over him, and I go, dude, no one is gonna want to fight Islam. No one.
No, why would you, man?
He is probably. I was like, Sean Shelby must hate Islam because he is the most impossible guy to book. And that goes into. I think Makhachev mentioned this. People always like kind of shit on Islam, but who's he fought? I was like, and I think even Dana had mentioned this too. He was like, nobody wants to fight
bad dudes, by the way.
He hasn't fought bad dudes at all, but nobody wants to fight
Davi Ramos, Arman Sarukian, Drew Dober is very, very good lightweight. Like Thiago Moises, very good lightweight. Dan Hooker, mileage may vary. Bobby Green, he fought a bunch of dudes who everybody like fighters universally respect, and fans maybe don't know as much because they don't have the numbers by their name, but he's beaten good dudes.
And the Hooker and Green fights, it was like those only because everyone above him were like, no, I don't want to fight him.
Yeah.
That like Islam got to this point despite everyone.
And Green wasn't Green
he was short notice, right? But who was the original opponent? Who was the original opponent for that?
Was that RDA?
I think I'm pretty sure it was RDA.
Yeah. No, RDA was replaced by Dan Hooker.
It was Dariush.
Yeah. And RDA was replaced by Dan Hooker. So he was supposed to have fought RDA and Dariush, and instead got Hooker and Green.
So people crap on Islam's maybe not enough ranked names, but he signed the contracts. Those guys didn't show up, so.
Yeah. Dude, and Nick Lentz in 2016 or whenever that was like, I'm looking it up right now. Nick Lentz has always just been a dude that's around in quality. Yeah. Nick Lentz in 2016.
Charles Oliveira has a trilogy of Nick Lentz.
Yeah, but no, that guy's garbage. Guy's terrible fighter.
Still the weirdest trilogy I think in UFC history. Nick Lentz, Charles Oliveira.
I forgot about it until I was watching tape for this card. I was like, I didn't remember that this happened. That there were 3 of these. It's okay.
3 of these.
The broadcast has officially started, though I'm sure we're still probably a ways off of people actually making their way to the cage.
Is your actual broadcast started? I'm still getting the screen.
Refresh because it's up.
Okay,
They are showing Etihad Arena right now in fabulous Abu Dhabi.
All right, let me get that on the screen, and then we'll go to once they start walking out. Then we'll do our predictions.
Makes sense. I suspect that they're not going to hop right to it, but who can say? The future, she is a mystery.
I'm gonna add 15 minutes on this.
Hell yeah, let's go. Because they got to do the talking. They got to promote Modelo, the official beer of the UFC, and corn nuts, corn to the core.
That's one thing I do miss about actually going live to UFC events. When the corn to the core era backstage. there was free corn nuts everywhere, and everyone just had like cracked molars. That's all.
I don't think I ever remember that. I don't.
All right.
All right. What else we got? As they are spitballing now.
Real quick,
I just want to briefly say I hate that Daniel Cormier is commentating this event. It bothers me to no end, and it will never not bother the hell out of me. Daniel Cormier should not be allowed to commentate this main event.
This one feels a little too close because like
he did it for all Khabib stuff. Like you can't do this. It's not how professionalism works, and it's not saying that he is showing favoritism, though he probably is. You cannot disassociate yourself cleanly enough in this regard, and he just shouldn't be in.
Yeah, even if he rightfully believes Islam will win, it will never come off that way.
Exactly. And it is not a big ask for him to step away from the main event. And I've always felt that. And it's just like, hey guys, I have trained extensively with Islam. We have a personal relationship, like a very real one. I'm going to go sit in the corner and be a fan. Why don't you two dudes handle this? We don't need a 3-man booth for this. I'm going to go over here. It has always rubbed me the wrong way. And I just noticed it as DC's on my page, on my screen right now.
Yeah. I know everyone's got different opinions, but I love the Felder Cruz when they're in the booth together because
I think Felder's really good.
Yeah, I get why people don't like Cruz, but I do enjoy Cruz's point of view a lot of times. But
I think Cruz often says smart things. Felder does a lot to make him more palatable.
Yeah, I've
just never been a big Cruz guy.
All right.
Will you be surprised if Oliveira shoots for the first takedown? No.
First trip.
Yeah, no.
No.
I won't be surprised. Because it's not like Islam comes out and immediately shoots takedowns, especially because he likes to work out of the clinch and stuff. Like I think that it wouldn't shock me at all if Oliveira just immediately put it on the table. Hey, I might do this too, and it wouldn't be a bad idea. You know, they talk about it all the time. Giving your opponent more things to think about, more possibilities, makes the fight a little bit trickier, a little bit more difficult. Put it on the table at least.
All right. Okay. All right, guys. So for anyone that put in questions, re-put them in again if we didn't go
fire them back in.
Yeah, fire them back in.
We've got a lot of you here as we prep for the biggest card of the year.
Yeah. So I'm gonna start throwing these up.
Islam time. I hope so, baby. They are showing their face-offs now, and for all the people who decided that Islam looked timid, you people are nuts.
I did not understand that at all. I did not like.
You obviously just never seen him fight before.
Yeah, you just never seen it. You just never. Yeah, that's it. Yeah, I was like, what are you talking? Like, what do you? Islam's gonna be like, let's go. Like, what? That'd be weird.
I will say this, and this is 100% armchair psychologist. Might be 100% wrong. We'll find out in a few hours. Shaheen was saying yesterday, that Charles is carrying himself like a champion. I'm getting slight, very, very slight Ronda Rousey, Holly Holm vibes from him. Him walking around and being like, I'm gonna murder this dude. I'm like,
who is that? Charles Oliveira was never like that.
That's not really who you are, my man. And it feels like you're getting a little outside yourself. Like I
felt good. I felt that way too. I was like, all right. It's like,
you never want to throw it out there because if you're wrong, you look like a huge idiot. But like that one feels. I did not feel at all the Islam thing, and I definitely was like, I don't really know how I feel about Charles being this way. This is, Jose Aldo, Conor McGregor. I'm gonna murder this dude. Like, I don't know, man. It's questionable.
Like Islam. I mean, there wasn't like a beef between Islam and Charles. It wasn't like that was so. It was just. I guess.
Yeah, and it's just like I never want to see fighters acting a way that's incongruous with how they normally are. Charles has never been like, I'm gonna murder Dustin Poirier or whatever. Then you're fighting on emotion. You're not fighting to your best capabilities. It is usually how that works. So, I have questions.
Yeah. Well, let's see. I
think it's awesome that we haven't talked about Sterling Dillashaw
Oh my
almost
God!
on this fight
Have
card.
we even mentioned it?
It's so appropriate for
We've been talking. We've been on this over an hour, and we
for
haven't
now.
mentioned the co-main event, which I think I briefly mentioned. Like, oh, by
We
the way, if
briefly
TJ
mentioned
wins,
it
he
at the
might be
top.
the best bantamweight ever.
Yeah.
Moving on.
Briefly mentioned it. It's so fitting because that fight is arguably the best fight on the card, like very possibly the best fight on the card, and somehow it's the third most anticipated fight, if not lower. Like it is, man.
That's yeah.
It's
I
weird.
feel bad. I feel bad as a fan right now. Like, I just.
It's all. I want
But
to
you know
feel
what?
bad.
You know what? We've gotten so little questions on it though, and
Nobody cares.
I don't.
It's so
why
weird.
why don't they care? It's because the card's so good. Why don't they care? I think that's the big thing. Why don't they care? I don't really have a. I kind of have an answer for it. Basically, because they're two heels fighting.
I like the answers. Yeah, I. How much of this do I feel comfortable saying in a public venue?
I will say this real quick. Even though I did think T.J. Dillashaw very much lost to Corey Sandhagen, I don't take anything away from T.J. Dillashaw because you did that with a freaking. You did that with one leg. You held
off
down
a 2-year layoff.
2-year layoff, and you held down Corey. You held against the cage at least Corey Sandhagen. It's an extremely good bantamweight, a bantamweight that will fight for the title at some point. I don't know if he'll win the title because he is a flawed fighter, but he's an extremely
He already
good
fought
fighter.
for a title.
He will fight.
He fought for an interim championship against Petr.
And it was super good. It was one of the best fights of the year, and it was a short notice fight. So I have no doubt that we're going to see Sandhagen back near the top, fighting for a title again.
Yeah.
But the way Dillashaw was even made that fight competitive with one leg, we saw what's his name, it was the two wrestlers, Malkoun and Maximov, whatever.
Oh yeah, Nick Maximov, Malkoun.
He had a blown knee, and Nick Maximov is a very good fighter, but he's also a human, and you saw what happened to him. He just couldn't do anything. TJ Dillashaw had a blown knee.
It's impossible to do things without a knee.
And he still won. He still won a. He made it a competitive fight.
Made it a close fight.
He made it a close fight. He made it a close fight, and enough for a fight that the judges already won. And to me, that is incredible, TJ Dillashaw. And I think at the time I was kind of poo-pooing the decision, but now this is happening. Now I can kind of look at it a little more clearly and go, you know what? That's pretty badass what TJ Dillashaw did just to even get to that point. And I think he deserves more credit. Yeah,
I agree. I think I scored it for him in real time, but I also think I was doing the live blog, which really makes it difficult to score fights with any efficacy. Certainly on rewatch, I think Sandhagen won the fight. I think there are a number of reasons why this fight is flying under the radar. First, I think people don't like TJ because of the drug thing, which, sure, I don't care about that personally, but I understand if that's not your cup of tea. I also think TJ's been off for a long time, and before that he was off for a long time, and because there is the narrative certainly that he didn't beat Sandhagen, makes him a much more difficult sell in general as a title. People really, really hate Aljo, man. Like, they just don't care for this man.
He doesn't help himself. He just doesn't help
himself.
Doesn't.
That's the thing. The way he won the title thing, the way he defended the title, which I thought was great, but some people, Dana White included, believe he didn't win that fight. Yeah, he's threaded the needle of being a heel in the worst way possible. Like he so obviously was bothered by people hating him being the champion. And then when he even leaned into it, it wasn't in a way that was fun or constructive. Like, it clearly just got to him, and you can tell that. And people don't like when you have intrinsic lack of confidence, which is what that means. Like, it's not a disrespect to the man. It's just, if you get upset by fans not thinking you're the real champion, which he very obviously was, there is some level of a confidence thing that comes off, and fans feed on that in negative ways. I think that there is a very real argument that his race plays into the general MMA fan perception of him, because
that's just always, yeah.
Tyron Woodley was a hell of a champion, and people hated the piss out of him for no real reasons. And then Sterling also is just, he's done a lot of really stupid things that make it hard to love him. So it's just hard to, there's nobody to root for in this fight for the broader fan base, which I think is why this slips down beneath some of the other fights on this fight card.
Pretty much. I think that's it. Yeah.
Oh, we're
Yeah.
about to get the walkouts. They are showing
Yeah.
Lena Landsberg, the elbow
All
queen,
right. Real quick. I
as
saw
she
this
makes
question.
her way to the cage. Where does the winner of Brady versus Muhammad fight go with the stoppage win? Um, that's a really good question. They
Yeah.
have to fight once more before they get a title fight.
Are both of them one fight? If
I
with
think
a
they're one
good
fight away.
victory, are they a one fight away from a title shot?
I think they're one fight and a layoff away because I do think
Yeah.
Hamzat is next in line. If you're Belal,
If
please
Hamza,
stop.
yeah, it's a big
Yeah.
if he at the 170 thing, but I understand. Yeah.
What's the thing is, yeah. Well, I think the storyline, at least, is that it's Hamzat versus Colby in the undercard of Leon Usman, which would make sense in some ways, certainly. And that would obviously be for a number one contender fight. If you're Muhammad and you win this fight, don't suck on the mic this time. Don't call for fights you're not going to get. Come out and trash Hamzat Chimaev. Make that fight happen for yourself because that's the ticket.
Yeah.
I think Brady just has to fight at least one more dude, and I'm not
Yeah.
sure. I can't think of the rankings off the top of my head. Who I guess it's Gilbert Burns, right? The winner of this has to fight Gilbert Burns for a title shot. That seems like the answer.
Yeah,
All right, do you have
You also have Rachmanov up there too.
yeah? Who's he
Oh,
booked against right now?
Neil. Yeah, I forgot. Neil and Rachmanov are
Yeah,
fighting, right?
yeah.
Yeah.
He's so actually maybe
So,
the winner of this fights that, but then even
so
that isn't a guarantee.
yeah, I hate knocking out.
Welterweight's underratedly dope as a weight class, by the way.
It is.
All
All
right.
right.
Do we have any more questions? Because Lena Landsberg
No,
is
let's do
praying
our
before walking into the cage. So yeah,
let's do our predictions.
let's do the predictions. I'm gonna do
Let's start.
the
Let's start
prelim
with
main event as well.
yeah.
Yeah.
Let's start with that one. Yeah.
Muhammad Sean Brady. I am taking Sean Brady by decision, back and forth fight, but I think he's just gonna have a little more pace.
Oh, I'm going Sean Brady submission round 3.
Oh, that would be sick. That would be very, very
Yeah,
sick.
I think he will slowly break down Muhammad, and but it will be a competitive fight till it's not.
That'd be awesome. All right, your main card opener, Caitlin Chukagian taking on Manon Fiorot in a catchweight fight of 127.5 pounds because Chukagian missed weight. Been really back and forth. I am going to officially predict Manon Fiorot by decision. I don't feel any level of confidence in that pick, though, man. It is. She's younger and more athletic, and that's the pick. But that's all I got.
I was picking Chikagian, but I'm gonna go with Thoreau just because of the tough weight cut.
The weight cut miss certainly gives me a little more confidence,
That's
but
about it.
Chukagian knows how to win, man. She knows how to win. So, all right, your lightweight feature bout: Beneil Dariush, Mateusz Gamrot. I am officially predicting Benny Dariush to get the win by decision.
Wow. I'm going to go Gamrot by decision.
That was what I thought I was going to do coming into this week, but maybe it's just wish casting. I want Benny Dariush to have a good thing happen to him in life for once in his fight career, but I think this is a winnable fight for him, and so I'm going to pick him. All right, now we're into the real thick of it. Bantamweight feature main card fight. Former champion Petr Yan takes on Sugar Sean O'Malley. I am taking Yan by decision. I think the first round is maybe competitive. Things get progressively worse for O'Malley as the fight goes on. Yan probably doesn't get a finish. Wouldn't shock me if he did, though.
Yan by decision. O'Malley takes round 1 only because someone has to win it. But I think Yan takes the next 2 rounds pretty decisively. But I think O'Malley looks good. I think O'Malley looks like he belongs in there, though. He doesn't look like yet.
All right, your co-main event: Aljamain Sterling, bantamweight champion, putting his belt on line against former 2-time champion T.J. Dillashaw. I've been pretty clear. I think this is an incredibly good style matchup for Dillashaw. He does not get taken down. He does not get controlled. He's a little bit more fluid on the feet. Sterling has never looked like a comfortable striker to me because I just don't think he's happy in that venue. Taking Dillashaw by decision.
Dillashaw, TKO, round 4.
I think that's really possible. I've been comparing this to, I think we're going to get like a Renan Barão-esque performance from Dillashaw here, where he really separates himself. If not getting a late stoppage, I think he does look great. So
yeah, the only thing that worries me, and I didn't really think about it, and Sean O'Shadi really put it in my head, is
old.
the age. He's old.
He's very old.
He's old, and I was like, oh my god, you're right, he's old. So that's my kind of, I don't know, But
Yep.
I am going still TJ Dillashaw round 4.
It'd
TKO take.
be the oldest champion sub 170 by like several years. So
Yeah.
it'd be impressive. First 3-time champion in a division since Randy Couture. So there you go. The main event, the big one, lightweight championship of the world, former champion Charles Oliveira taking on Islam Makhachev. I am taking Islam Makhachev by round 4 TKO. I think Oliveira is competitive maybe in that first round, but Makhachev is able to smother all of his offense. This fight will get dragged into deep water, and I think we see. I know people hate this narrative. I think we see the quit in Oliveira come back because it's hard to get beat up for 20 minutes, and it's just a difficult thing. So, Makhachev by round 4 TKO.
We pretty much see the fight the same way, except I have it Makhachev TKO round 3.
I mean, yeah, tomato there.
Yeah.
All right. That's it. They are about to kick off the fight. They are touching gloves in the center and getting after it right now. Lena Landsberg, Carol Hosa kicking off the main card. Best event of the year, boys and girls. Can't ask for anything more. Thank you for being with us. Make sure to tune into the live watch along. We'll be on the YouTube channel at 1:45. Check that time, Casey, for the main card. The 1:45 tune in for that. Mike Heck, Connor Burks, me doing great stuff. And then after, post show, baby. You and me, let's do it again. Run it right back.
Boom.
Enjoy the
morning
fights,
coffee,
everyone.
kids. Yeah.
Yeah.
Good morning.
Enjoy the morning. Enjoy the fights. I love you guys.